Okay. So we'll begin by dedicating this presentation to the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We begin with the Mangalacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagan Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Chetam Sharato Pangur Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Kundarunyo Kalpa Drumadaha Srimat Ratna Gado Simhasanasto Sriman Radha Srila Govinda Deva Rastalibihi Sevyamano Smarami Srimandrasarasarambi Vamsivatastastitaha Karshan Veno Stanergopir Gopinata Shriyastanaha Tapkanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatadine Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayom Udire Nastaprayeshu Abreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Nigamakalpatarorgalitam phalam sukamukadamritatrasamyutam vivata bhagavatam rasamalayam mukuraburasika vivartaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanaභaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangri Pai me Ananda Vishaya Matirmadupatiya Sakrit Pratim Mudvahatat Adha Gange Vahudam Mudanvatihi O Lord of sweetness, Madhupate, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Simhalpinamini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayatim Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna everybody, welcome back to our Srimad Bhagavatam session. So today we are looking at chapter 17 punishment and reward of Kali. So we've already covered the first part of it in our previous session, and now we will look into the second part. We will not finish the chapter today, but that will take one more session. So, but before we begin, let us do some recap so we can bring us back into what we covered in the previous session very quickly. Right, so this chapter begins basically why this chapter is there. It's basically an answer to the sages of the Naimisharanya forest. Remember, Bhagavatam begins with a conversation between Suta Goswami and Saunaka Rishi, who represents all the thousands of sages in the Naimisharanya forest. So at that time, 6 questions were put forth by Saunaka Rishi to Suta Goswami. And Suta Goswami is elected as the speaker because he heard the Srimad Bhagavatam from Sukadev Goswami in another assembly. And he was very effulgent. So when he came to that place, all the sages in Naimisaranya forest immediately asked him to instruct them because they were desperately trying to stop the age of Kali, the onset of the age of Kali. So then one of the questions asked was, where will Dharma and where will people in earth take shelter from now that Lord Krishna has left the world? Because this is right after the end of the Dwapara Yuga and Lord Krishna left the world. So, and the answer to that was Srimad Bhagavatam has incarnated as the Supreme Lord has incarnated as Srimad Bhagavatam. So, as the Supreme Lord leaves Bhuma Devi and goes back to the spiritual world, Srimad Bhagavatam descends. Just like how in the dense, dark age of Kali, everything is so dark, the sun of Srimad Bhagavatam has risen in the horizon, completely dispelling the darkness of the age of Kali for all those who take shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, such a great literature, the sages were curious. How did this great literature come about? And in what kind of circumstance this happened? Who was the speaker of this Srimad Bhagavatam? And who was it spoken to? So like that, and at the same time, they also wanted to know, tell us more about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Tell us more about the incarnations of Lord Krishna. So in this way, to answer all of these questions, Suta Goswami is describing one by one. We heard about the incarnations of the Lord. We heard about the various pastimes, beginning with Lord Krishna and Arjuna arresting Ashwatthama. And then we heard about how the Lord is received in Dwarakapuri, how the Lord left Hastinapur and was received in Dwarakapuri. And now we are going to hear about the speaker. To the person Srimad Bhagavatam was originally presented. So that was Parikshit Maharaj. So the glories of Parikshit Maharaj was mentioned in earlier chapters. How Parikshit Maharaj was, even in the womb, he was saved by the Lord from the Brahmashtra. So therefore, he is also called Vishnu Rata. Vishnu Rata means one who is protected by Vishnu himself. And in this way, we heard about the glories of his birth and his character and his qualities and how he was. And then we also heard about the situation which occurred, which made him to become the king. Because the Pandavas were supposed to be the kings, and we heard about how the Pandavas retired and after hearing about the disappearance of Lord Krishna. And in this way, Yudhishthira Maharaj established Parikshit Maharaj as the king. And we heard about what were the activities Parikshit Maharaj did when he became king, how he established the Rajasuya Yagya and so forth. And now we are also hearing about his greatness, his glories. And one of those glories was when he happened to meet the personification of Kali himself. So just to talk about his greatness, Sutta Goswami is narrating. But immediately, Saunaka Rishi was telling Sutta Goswami, okay, tell us about this pastimes only if it is in relation with the Supreme Lord. So this is to show the focus of Srimad Bhagavatam. how everything is focused towards the pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, which are non-different. And Sutta Goswami happily said, yes, definitely this is in relation with the Lord, and he continued speaking about the glories of Parikshit Maharaj. So today we are hearing about this chapter began with Parikshit Maharaj going searching for the cause of the degradation of the world, because he saw the inauspicious symptoms happening in the world, how there's degradation of society, degradation of the natural cause of events. So then he went out immediately, not being an idle king. Immediately he wanted to check what was the negative cause of the degradation in his kingdom. And along the way, he happened to come across a very interesting scene. And this was the scene where a cow and a bull were both crying, and the cow was crying very, very terribly. It was lamenting as if the cow has lost its calf, and the bull was standing only on one leg because the other three legs have been cut off. And it looks like in the scene, in the crime scene, so the crime scene is described how a personality who was very dark and very fearsome, but he was dressed like a king. From the looks of that personality, he looks like a Shudra, but he was dressed like a king and carrying a sword. He was striking off the legs of the bull, causing the bull to also cry and urinate in fear, and the cow was also crying. And in this way, this was the scene that was happening. And Parikshit Maharaj came across this. Where was this? This was happening by the banks of the Saraswati River. So, and we heard about the crime scene. And along the descriptions and the narrations, we talked about how the importance of Goraksha. Goraksha means cow protection, right? How protecting the cow and protecting the bulls is equivalent to, because the bull represents dharma, religiosity, or dharma, righteousness, and the cow represents the very earth itself. So by protecting the cow and the bull, by simply keeping the cows and the bulls well protected and happy, this will ensure prosperity and for everyone, and extremely good human welfare. Automatically it will happen. But this cannot be done in just in small areas. It has to be prevalent along across the earth. The entire country at least uh, should be established in this way. The focus of the king, the kingdom, the country, and in this way the entire world should be focused in establishing cow protection. So that will ensure human prosperity. Hmm. But how can this cow protection be established? It cannot be established simply by some kind of a business venture or business model or starting some farm here or something. It cannot be established in that way. Prabhupada makes it very clear. It has to be established by re-establishing Brahminical culture. That has to be Brahminical culture, or Vedic culture has to be firmly established in society. When Brahminical culture is established in society, or Krishna consciousness is firmly established in society, then automatically society will look after the cows. The cow protection, that will be prevalent, and that will happen. So we heard about this in detail in our previous session. And then on the crime scene, when Parikshit Maharaj saw this happening, right, he immediately challenged Kali. He asked Kali, right, uh, who are you to do such a thing in my kingdom? So in this way, he challenges Kali, and we heard various narrations on this point about how there are false kings and there are true kings, or false leaders and true leaders. This personality who looks like a king, but actually, in actuality, he is a Shudra. And just look what he was doing to the cows and the bulls. He was attacking the very earth itself. He was exploiting the earth, and he was destroying religiosity. So dharmic principles are being destroyed and the earth is exploited. So this is what false kings do. They have the heart of the Shudra, but they pretend to be kings, but it can be revealed by their activity. Their activity will unmask them. So no matter how they dress up, it can be unmasked simply by noticing their activities. Whereas the true king, you can see the true king, what makes a true leader, a true king? What the foremost quality of a king or a kshatriya or a leader or an administrator is his ability to protect, protection. He must be eager and willing and having the ability to give protection, protection to dharma, protection to his dependents. And that dependence doesn't only mean human beings, it means to all living entities within that kingdom that deserve protection. Sarva Bhutanam. So that is the qualification of a leader, administrator, king. Whoever comes under his jurisdiction is not only restricted only to one particular species, it is actually for all living entities that within that kingdom. So that we have also established. And we heard about how after challenging Kali and telling him to stop, immediately he assures Dharma, the bull and the cow. Dharma is the bull and cow is the earth. He immediately reassures Dharma, and without, even though he came across the scene, he caught he caught Kali red-handed, performing the heinous deed of attacking the bull and the cow. But still, he shows by example as a perfect administrator and a adjudicator. He conducts an inquiry. He doesn't blindly act. He arrests the situation. He reassures those who are affected, the victims, and he conducts an inquiry. And he asks Dharma various questions. He's basically asking him, name the aggressor. What has caused you to be in this situation? Who has done this to you? Although he could see it, but he still wants to ask Dharma. So we stopped there in our previous session, and today we will continue to hear the very, very interesting answer which Dharma the bull gives to the questions Parikshit Maharaj asked. Parikshit Maharaj just asked Dharma, why are you suffering? Who has done this to you? What has happened to you? So we will hear what Dharma says. Dharma uvacha. These words just spoken. So Dharma, the bull, even you remember the situation of the bull. In the previous verses, it was described how the bull was trembling and urinating in fear because of being attacked by the Kali personified, and how the bull was only hobbling on one leg, three legs being broken. So this was the situation of the bull, but still see how the Dharma replies. Dharma uvacha. These words just spoken by you, O King Parikshit, befit a person of the Pandava dynasty. So first he glorifies the king, saying that whatever you spoke, it's perfectly fitting because you are a scion of the Pandava dynasty. This Pandava dynasty was so great, the Pandavas were so great that captivated by the devotional qualities of the Pandavas, Supreme Lord Bhagavan Krishna himself performed menial duties for them. For example, he acted as a messenger for them. The Supreme Personality of Godhead acted as a mere messenger for the Pandavas because he was completely won over by their devotion. So, and you are a grandson of these Pandavas, and you definitely befit their qualities. So Dharma is establishing this. And Prabhupada gives a comment. Such duties executed by the Lord for his devotees are always very pleasing to the Lord. So it's not that the Lord is forced to do this. The Lord is the Lord. He is Swarat, supremely independent. But he is purchased by the love of his devotees. He becomes so much purchased by the love of the Pandavas that he is willing to do anything for them. We of course we know from Bhagavad Gita how he became a Sarathi, a chariot driver for Arjuna. And in this way, in very sweet ways, very personal ways, the Lord personally does many things for the Pandavas. Mhm. And from such a family is Parikshit Maharaj. So the Lord is very pleased to do these services for his pure devotees, whose life, and these pure devotees also, their life has no other engagement than to serve the Lord with full love and devotion. So these are pure devotees. And then Dharma continues. O Purusha Rishabha, he continues by saying to Parikshit Maharaj, O greatest amongst all human beings. So generally, the king is seen to be the leader amongst men, right, in society. So he's addressing the king in that way. Oh, Purusha Rishabha, the greatest amongst all human beings. It is very difficult. So this is the answer he gives to Parikshit Maharaj when Parikshit Maharaj asks Bull about what has caused you this problem. It is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused our sufferings. So this, when I first read this, I was just blown off. Oh my goodness, what an answer. Parikshit Maharaj just caught that perpetrator red-handed. He saw himself, and the bull is crying in fear. And yet, when he asks the bull, this is the answer the bull gives. It is very difficult to ascertain the particular miscreant who has caused this suffering to us. Klesha. Klesha means suffering. Bija. Bija means the root cause of the suffering. Very difficult to ascertain. So, why he's talking like that? Two reasons. One reason is this bull is not an ordinary bull. He is the personification of Dharma himself. He is the personification of religiosity, the principles of religion itself. So you can expect a very profound answer from the bull. Normally if somebody asks us, who did this to you? We'll be very, very quick to point out, yes, that person did this to us. This person, this. So that's us. But the bull will give a very profound answer which covers all directions. So that is how the bull would give. But at the same time, this bull is also affected by Kali. How we know the bull is affected by Kali? Because its legs are broken, it's crying and urinating in fear, trembling on its one leg. So this personification of religiosity has already been affected by the influence of Kali in the beginning of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, this is what's happening. So therefore, his answer is also a little bit affected by Kali's touch. So we will talk about that in later, right? So therefore, he gives these answers. Because we are bewildered. So he himself mentions, right? It is very difficult to ascertain the particular person who has caused these sufferings for us. Because why? We have become bewildered, bimohita, by all the different opinions. Vakya Beda. Vakya Beda. Vakya means the speech, the different philosophies of the different speakers. We have become bewildered by so many different people in Kali Yuga speaking so many different things, presenting so many different philosophies. So we have become bewildered as to what is the root cause of the suffering of everyone, particularly how religiosity has been made confused, how religiosity has become very confusing to the population in the world, how Kali has done this. Kali, it has a bewildering effect on the people in this world. Then Prabhupada gives a point here. Although the bull, or the personality of religion, and the cow, the personality of the earth, knew perfectly well that the personality of Kali was the direct cause of their sufferings, still, as devotees of the Lord, they knew well also that without the sanction of the Lord, no one could inflict trouble upon them. So, this is a very important point. So, devotees of the Lord, or sadhus, or mahatmas, great souled personalities, they will never blame anything or anyone for their problem. Why? When they go through misery, this is what differentiates those who are great Mahatmas and those who are Duratmas. Duratmas are narrow-minded or very miserly minded. The opposite of Duratma is Mahatma, great soul, great visionary people. So those who are Mahatmas, they will never blame anyone or anything or any condition for to be the root cause of their suffering. Of course, instruments may be there. Someone may be the instrument of your suffering, right? Someone may cause a suffering, and that person may be the instrument of the seed of our suffering, but they are not the root cause, right? Like, for example, we may have an enemy. An enemy may be giving us so many mental troubles, maybe mental torture, or somebody in your office, for example, they may be causing so much of problems, but they are simply the instrument of our suffering. They bring about the suffering, but why the suffering comes, they are not the cause for it. If not them, it will be somebody else. If not somebody else, it will be something else. So like that, right? So but devotees understand that nothing in this world or in this universe moves without the sanction of the Lord. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Lord. So what does that mean? Does that mean the Lord is the one who is causing the suffering of everybody, right? If everything that moves according to the will of the Lord, does that mean the sufferings in this world are due to the will of the Lord also? No, also. That is also not correct. So later we will hear more how it works out, right? So devotees of the Lord ultimately knows that the Lord is the cause of everything, and without the sanction of the Lord, nothing happens. Whether good or bad, nothing happens, right? But still, right, let's see. Thus, even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, so when this is, we are trying to establish how a devotee will think, how a pure devotee will think. So even if the devotees see the mischief mongers, in other words, those who are the instrument of our suffering, they do not accuse them for the sufferings inflicted. So they are able to understand. Yes, you are in. So we can hear if you read Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, Yudhishthira Maharaj Yudhishthira Maharaj showed this mentality very nicely. In so many of the difficulties that they had gone through, in so many of the sufferings that they had gone through, right? He was always having this kind of a vision. He was always able to see his aggressors always in this vision. Therefore, he never saw Duryodhana or Dhritarashtra as his enemy. So that's why Yudhishthira Maharaj was given the name Ajata Shatru. That's one of the names of Yudhishthira Maharaj. Ajata Shatru. That means this person, Yudhishthira Maharaj, uh, there is no enemy that is born for him. So this Yudhishthira Maharaj views everybody as not an enemy. So not even one person is born who is the enemy of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So therefore he's called Ajata Shatru. Why? Because he had this vision of Dharma, where he saw everything as cost due to everybody as an instrument. If somebody aggresses that person, his vision is always straight. He only sees that person as you are an instrument of the suffering which I have to go through. Mm. So therefore, there is no hate. And because there is no hate, then that person becomes free of duality. So this is the vision of the advanced pure devotees. They take it for granted that the mischief monger is made to act by some indirect cause, and therefore they tolerate the sufferings. So this is what enables devotees to tolerate. Remember in Bhagavad Gita, Tat Vidhi, no, no, what's that verse? Titikshashvata Bharata. Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitoshana sukha dukkada agama paino nityas tam titikshashva Bharata. So the devotees of the Lord tolerate. Titiksha. Titikshva means to tolerate. Just like one tolerates happiness and distress, how and how tolerates the rainy season and the hot season. So in the same way, one continues with our dharma and tolerate. So we can tolerate if we develop this kind of vision. And this vision comes from knowledge. So thinking them to be God given in small doses. So then what is the root cause then? The root cause, the devotee will see everything that comes to him, happiness and distress, as coming from the Supreme Lord Himself. So they will accept everything. Just that's the understanding of Radharani, isn't it? We hear in the Sikshashtakam, the last verse of Sikshashtakam, right? Asleshava pararatam pinashtamam adarshana marmahatam karotuva yata tatava vidadatu lampato mat prananatastu sa eva naparaha. That is the final level of surrender. Oh Krishna, you can embrace me or you can cast me away. You can kick me also. You can embrace me or you can kick me. Either way, it doesn't change anything. In my eyes, you are my eternally worshipable Lord. So that is the final level of surrender. That is called surrender, right? So to come to that level of surrender, that kind of vision is what devotional service is all about. Because anyway, that is the fact only, right? Whether we want to or we don't want to, or we like or we don't like, or whether we believe or we don't believe, the fact is ultimately the Lord controls everything. But let's understand later, why is it, although it is God given, it is not actually really God given in that sense. So we will hear more about that. So then Dharma continues. So before we go into that aspect, Dharma continues his conversation. He says, yes, it's very difficult to understand what is the root cause, right? Because there are those who deny all duality. Why it's difficult to understand the root cause? Because in Kali Yuga, there are affected by illusion. People, various philosophers or various people will talk about different causes. So, for example, there are one class of philosophers who will say there is no duality, everything is one. There's no happiness, there's no distress, there is no, if you think you are suffering and if somebody else thinks they are happy, actually, no, you're not suffering, that person is not happy, everything is, there is nothing. There are some people who say that's nothing, like the Buddhists. The Buddhists will say everything is, it's all illusion. There is neither happiness, there is neither distress, it's all nothing. So they deny all dualities. So Mayavadis also think in that way. They remove all dualities, right? And they declare that one's own self is responsible for his personal happiness and distress. So we ourselves are responsible. Yes. So in this statement, it's partially true, right? Duality is, yes, it's an illusion. Duality is an illusion. At the same time, the self is also responsible for both happiness and distress. Why the self is uh, responsible for happiness and distress, we will hear. Others say that Daivam are responsible. So there are other people who say, no, the Devatas are responsible. They are the cause of our distress because we are not performing, we are not satisfying them properly. So we are not worshiping them properly. So this could be the cause of distress. So therefore, there are some cultures where they will ensure there is certain worship going on. Like, we see in Chinese culture, there is worship of ancestors. So they ensure that the ancestors are worshipped properly because they believe that if they don't, then they will go through ill luck in their life, bad fortune. So it's not only the Chinese, this is also there in Vedic, in Hinduism. It's called Pitra, the worship of the Pitras, the worship of the forefathers. And this is there in many other cultures in the world, like in the Mexicans do this, the South Americans, and some parts of Europe as well. So are the devas the ultimate cause of our misery then? So that also is not really true. But then there are other people who say, no, it is our activity or karma which is responsible. It is what we do, what we have done in our past life, what we do in this life. So any activity that we do, it creates karma. It's Newton's law, right? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So when this reaction will come across to us, that will take some time. Some will take very fast, some will take very slow, some will come in another life. So that is the law of karma. So therefore, they are saying everything that happens to us is due to karma only. So karma is supreme. So this is the class of philosophers. They are called the Mimamsa. Mimamsa means there is a school of philosophers established by the sage Jaividi. It's called the Mimamsa philosophy. They say that there is karma. Karma is supreme. So everything is coming from there. So later we will explain this point by point. And then Dharma says, but at the same time, there are other people who say the gross materialists maintain that nature is the ultimate cause. So there are some gross materialists who reject karma. What karma? Karma. They don't want to accept karma. They don't want to accept responsibility for their actions. They don't believe in a higher being, right? No, devas are not responsible. They don't believe this life is illusion. They think everything is real. Happiness is real. Distress is real. Duality is real. So, but what they think that nature is the ultimate cause. Nature means that it's simply the interaction of atoms, atomic reactions and actions. The entire universe. This is how the atheists believe. The atheistic people, like even the scientists think like that. This is how the scientists think. Therefore, you can see here how even 5,000 years ago, Dharma being affected by Kali is already predicting all the different types of philosophy which will be going about in Kali Yuga. So this is all that's happening, isn't it? Right. Can remove that notation, please. Okay. All right. So then Dharma continues. There are also some other thinkers. There are also some other thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor know it by imagination, nor express it by words. So there are some people who also think that actually we cannot really understand what is the cause of our suffering. So, this is what devotees think. Devotees understand ultimately that you cannot understand why a person is actually suffering, because it could be any of these factors. It could be nature, it could be karma, it could also be the will. Ultimately the devotees understand whether it's coming through the deva, or whether it's coming through nature, or whether it's coming through karma, it is ultimately controlled by the Lord. And why it happens to a devotee, why something happens to a devotee, whether a good thing or bad thing, you cannot understand, because ultimately the Lord's will is completely mysterious. No one can understand why the Lord does what sometimes, right? But ultimately, the devotees have faith that whatever the Lord does is beneficial. So this same conclusion, right, is actually come by all. We will hear after this how different devotees have also understood the same aspect. So in this way, the bull concludes, "O Raja Rishi, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence." So that's also what happens. We have to use our intelligence. We hear the different philosophies. If we are fortunate, we will hear the right philosophy. If we are unfortunate, we hear all the different philosophies. And we can become bewildered because our intelligence can be controlled by Maya. So Kali can bewilder our intelligence. So what we have to do, we have to purify our intelligence. So people in Kali Yuga, we have to purify our intelligence from hearing from authorized sources, not simply from anyone. Therefore, we have to seek out the bona fide guru coming from Parampara, who follows the injunctions of the scriptures exactly as it is without deviation. Because ultimately, we have to be guided by the scripture. So, therefore, bull here is bewildered, and the bull is giving this kind of answer to the to Parikshit Maharaj. So we hear that Vaishnavas, so what is the Vaishnava understanding? So the Vaishnava understanding is just like how before we come to the Vaishnava understanding, let's talk about Bhishma. We heard in previous chapters how Bhishma Dev, look at Bhishma Dev. What kind of a situation is Bhishma Dev in? He is in a very, very terrible situation. Nobody would want to be in this situation. We think our misery is bad. Look at the misery Bhishma Dev is going through. It seems he's the number of arrows which riddle the body of Bhishma Dev is so numerous that it's like every pore of the skin, it's like there is not enough space between the pores of the skin. Every pore is struck by an arrow. So you can imagine how many pores do we have in our body? Probably uncountable. But Bhishma Dev, that many arrows were struck, and they are all exerting pressure on him as he is lying down. And he's lying down in this way for days, waiting for the right time. So this is Bhishma Dev. And who is Bhishma Dev? Bhishma Dev is one of the Mahajans, one of the 12 great personalities, Mahatmas. And he was a very, very great devotee of the Lord as well. So when the Pandavas came to visit Bhishma Dev lying down on the battlefield, Krishna also came together with the Pandavas. And when Bhishma Dev saw the Pandavas, immediately Bhishma Dev said, Aho Kashtam, Aho Anyayam. Oh, so much of difficulty you have gone through. Oh, so much of Anyayam, injustices that you have been afflicted with, right? Oh, and you are Dharmanandanas. You are all sons of religiosity itself. You are so wonderful. Your characters are spotless. And look at you. You are going through so much. Aho kashtam, aho anyayam. Right? And anyone, jivitam narhata klishtam, anyone else other than you people facing the same difficulties and troubles would have given up their lives long ago. But you are still going on and tolerating, right? Why? Because Vipra Dharma Achyuta Ashrayaha. Because you have taken shelter of the Brahmanas, who represents the scriptures. You have taken shelter of Dharma, which the scriptures uphold, and you have taken the shelter of Achyuta, the infallible Supreme Lord Krishna himself, which the scriptures describe. So that is the reason you are able to tolerate even to this extent kind of ashtam and anyayam. So in other words, this is a glorification of pure devotional service. Only a pure devotee, one who has taken shelter of Brahmana, Dharma, and Achyuta, that person is able to tolerate, right? So we can begin by taking shelter. So in this way, we increase our tolerance. So that personality who's able to tolerate like that, more tolerant than a tree, right? Trinadapi sunichena. So that is exemplified, and Bhishma Dev understands this. Prabhupada gives a comment. One cannot estimate the Lord's reactions, either by speculation or by scholarship. So what the Lord does to his devotees, to his pure devotees, we cannot speculate. We do not have the necessary understanding for it. Right? Uh, we do not have the necessary understanding for it, so we can't speculate on it. Uh, why does he put some into difficulty and not others? He is the supreme knower and the compiler of the Vedas. No one is independent of him. There is no incongruity or inebriety in his actions. That means whatever he does, there is nothing wrong. Actually, whatever the Lord does is all auspicious, is all beneficial. That's why the Lord is always called lotus-eyed. So even when the Lord is killing the demons, he is still called lotus-eyed, Padma Lochana. Even when the Lord is striking down the enemies, even then he is still called Padma Lochana, lotus-eyed. We heard in the previous chapters how when Ashwatthama was throwing the Brahmastra, and it was attacking Parikshit Maharaj in the womb, and later Arjuna was so upset that he wanted to, the first time he threw the Brahmastra, right? First time he came at night, Ashwatthama came in the middle of the night and he killed the 5 children of the Pandavas while they were sleeping. So Draupadi was so sad. She was lamenting and crying. And seeing this situation, Arjuna took and gave a vow, said, I will not come back without killing. I will not rest until I kill this person, Ashwatthama. But Ashwatthama cannot be killed. He's Chiranjeevi, right? So very rashly, Arjuna made a vow. But Krishna was there with him. So Krishna came with him in the chariot as they were chasing after Ashwatthama. And Ashwatthama was immediately defeated by Arjuna. Arjuna was very powerful. He could defeat Ashwatthama. And Krishna also said, yes, kill Ashwatthama. But at that time, when Krishna said, kill Ashwatthama, Arjuna didn't kill. But that's a different story. I don't want to go into that. We've already covered that previously. But the point here is, when Krishna told Arjuna to kill Ashwatthama, that particular verse in the Bhagavatam which said, Krishna said, kill Ashwatthama, in that particular verse, Krishna's eyes was described as cooling lotus eyes. So that means that even though he was saying, kill Ashwatthama, and he said he was, and it was described that he was angry, but the Lord's eyes was always not angry. The Lord's eyes was always lotus-like. So what it means here is, no matter what the Lord's actions are, he always means well for the Jivatmas. So he knows precisely what is beneficial for the Jivatma, even though we do not understand why we are going through what we are going through. So that faith has to be clearly established in our heart. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Parityagya, Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja. Come to the point of full surrender unto me. Believe that whatever I do will be beneficial for you. Krishna is saying, when you come to that 100% belief, that is full surrender, right? So here, we can understand this, right? So Bhishma is continuing, right? He continues in the next verse after that. Smat idam daiva tantram. So Yavasya Bharatarshaba. Oh, best of all the descendants of the Vishnu dynasty, Bharatas. He's talking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. He says, Bhishma Dev is telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, therefore, I can only understand that the reason you all went through so much of suffering is because it is the plan of the Lord Himself. Why? Because you are pure devotees. Karma cannot touch you. You are all purified. You are all liberated. How can karma touch you? Right? It cannot be the cause, and even and no devatas. You have defeated Indra. You could defeat Indra. You could even even Lord Shiva was impressed with your fighting prowess. What to speak of the 9 Graha planets or whatever it is. Lord Shiva himself is impressed and he gave him the Pashupata weapon to Arjuna, right? So it's not devas. It was not the Daivam, the demigods who were causing you this misery. It was not karma, it was causing you this misery, right? And it's definitely not interactions of material nature, because material nature is simply a shadow reflection of the Lord's energy. But everything depends on the Lord. Material energy depends on the Lord. Karma is acting on its own, depending on by the grace of the Lord. So therefore, Bhishma says it is due to the will of the Lord. So that is the understanding. Okay. So Prabhupada gives a comment. The conclusion is therefore that the sufferings of the representative of religion, in other words, the devotees or the pious, and the representative of earth, Bhuma Devi, as present before Maharaj Parikshit, were all planned. They were planned by the Lord. So this is what we have mentioned many times already in previous sessions. Kunti Maharani also understood this point. He says, yeah. So it's all a plan to ensure the Lord uses his pure devotees as instruments. So remember, he was telling in Bhagavad Gita to Krishna, become my instrument, O Arjuna. These people have already been put to death by my will, by the power of time, which is I am time. By the influence of time, all these great generals will already be killed. It's already going to happen. You cannot change it. It's my will. But what you can do is you can be a willing, surrendered instrument in my plan. And by that surrender and by the dint of your tolerance, and that will increase further your surrender. So in this way, you can achieve everlasting glory. Mm. So this is the conclusion. The conclusion is therefore it is uh, all a plan of the Lord. In this case, there are different plans of the Lord. In this case, the plan of the Lord is to prove that Maharaj Parikshit was the ideal executive head because he knew well how to give protection to the cows and the brahmanas. So he created this scene. He ensured this scene would happen just to show the greatness of Parikshit Maharaj. So that was the idea. So Parikshit Maharaj was thus put to test to so whatever the Lord does to his pure devotees simply further glorifies the pure devotees further. You know, if you read a Vaishnava Acharya's life, look at even Prabhupada's life. Why did Prabhupada have to go through a stroke? Why did Prabhupada go to the West only in his old age? Because when he does all these things, it's so much more difficult. But because it's so much more difficult, that much more Prabhupada is glorified, isn't it? That much more he is appreciated, isn't it? Right? So this is to bring out the glory. That is one reason. Another reason, of course, there are many reasons why the Lord does anything. We cannot understand half of the other reasons, but some reasons we can understand. Another reason is because the Lord wants to show an example to other people who are not yet pure devotees but are in the path of pure devotion. They can understand that whenever I go through these problems, I should also follow in the footsteps of these pure devotees. This is how I must behave when I go through difficulties. This is how I must think when I go through difficulties, right? So to follow in the example of how the great devotees were thinking. So, in this way, it will please the Lord. In this way, we will make advancement. When we think like that, when we act in that way, in the idyllic way, then we make advancement. We become purified and we go to the next level in our spiritual life. So each difficulty that comes in our life is like a test. Krishna is giving us a test. Of course, for us, most of us, right, we are not yet in that level of, we are not yet liberated. So we are still under the purview of karma. But when we take up devotional service, even when we take up devotional service when we are not yet liberated, because we are sincere, that sincerity is the qualification to become a pure devotee. Even though we may not be very advanced, but because we are sincere, right? Immediately the Lord takes our karma and he completely looks after it. So he will use that karma for his purpose. Some things in the karma he will remove, a lot of things he will remove, but he will keep some parts of the karma because for our own purification and to teach us some lessons and to help us advance in our spiritual life. So, therefore, a devotee, even a neophyte devotee who is sincere in his devotional service, will understand that whatever that happens, right, it is by the will of the Lord. And I actually deserve so much more worse things because of my bad karma, but the Lord is so kind that He is guiding me in a certain way, right? So, let me see if I can live up to it. So, that is how a devotee will think. Okay, so I hope that explains that point very well. It's a very important point. So that point is described many times in throughout Bhagavatam. So we want to establish that clearly. So Suta Uvacha. So Suta Goswami is continuing the narration to Saunaka Rishi in the sages of Naimisaranya forest. O Dvija Satama, Oh, the best amongst Brahmanas, he's addressing Saunaka Rishi. Oh, best amongst the Brahmanas in the Naimisaranya forest, this Emperor Parikshit, just hearing Dharma speak, after hearing the bull speak, he was fully satisfied. And without mistake or regret, he gave his reply. So Parikshit Maharaj, when he heard how the bull spoke, he could immediately understand the position of the bull. So this is how, Prabhupada once said, a fool in a town is hidden until the moment he speaks. When he's saying in a village, there are many people in a village. So if there is a fool inside that village, so long as he doesn't speak, nobody can know whether he's a fool or not. But the moment he starts to speak, someone can understand whether he's a fool or not. Right? So a fool is revealed the moment he speaks. So how we can reveal from those words, from the conversation, from the speech of a person, one can understand the level of advancement of another person, right? So even in law, right, the moment we speak, when somebody catches a thief or a criminal, they will tell that person, right, you have the right to remain silent. Whatever you say will be used against you in a court of law. Because by speech we can reveal ourselves, we can reveal our mind. So it will reveal the quality of our thoughts. So therefore, when he heard the way that this bull was speaking, Maharaj Parikshit immediately understood. Then Raja Uvacha, Maharaj Parikshit immediately starts speaking. Oh, you who are Vrisha Rupdrik, oh, you who are going in the form of a bull. Maharaj Parikshit could understand immediately that this was not an ordinary bull. You are simply moving in the shape of a bull. But you know Dharmagnya. You understand the knowledge of Dharma. Although you are simply walking in the form of a bull, you are not an animal. And you are speaking according to the principle that the destination intended for the perpetrator of irreligious acts is also intended for one who identifies the perpetrator. So this is a very, very interesting point. So Maharaj Parikshit is saying, you are speaking with the full knowledge of Dharma. And what you have just spoken is based on the principle that whoever who blames someone is also going to the same destination as the person who caused the problem to you. So if somebody causes a problem for another person, and if another person, if that, and if we blame them, if we point our fingers and blame them, right? Then what happens? Immediately a karmic bond forms between us and the person who caused the problem to us. So there is a karmic bond. So yes, the person who caused the problem will suffer in the future due to his karma, right? But we are also suffering due to our karma. If somebody is causing a problem for us, it is because of our karma. And this karma is happening because the Lord wills it, because the Lord wants us to go through this for a purpose. Either for a purpose of purification, for us to understand something, it is a test for us, or for people like the Pandavas, it is nothing to do with karma at all. It is simply the Lord is using them as an example for a purpose. So therefore, if we start blaming people as the cause of our suffering, right? The law of karma is such that immediately we form a bond. What will happen? In the future, the person who caused suffering to us, he will suffer. And we, because we blame that person, we will be the one to cause the suffering to the other person in the future. So that will be, it's justice. You slap me, I slap you. So if you slap me and I identify that you have slapped me and I blame you for slapping me, in the future, I will get the opportunity to slap you. So when I slap him, then that is also karma, himsa, and then I will get another. Of course, it's because I caused, I know it's simply balancing the karma, yes. But still, if one causes himsa to another person, We can choose not to be the instrument of the other person's karma. If somebody is destined to suffer, we don't have to be the instrument which causes the suffering for the other person. We can choose not to be that instrument. Let the suffering of the other person come in a different way. Why do I have to be that person? And in that way, I cause my own degradation. Unless, unless we are in a position of leadership or in a position of responsibility. So then, for the purpose of teaching or for the purpose of correction, one can inflict punishment, one can inflict, uh, due necessary. Like, for example, a parent may scold a child. The child may go through difficulty. Oh, why the parent is scolding me? So much of suffering, crying, right? Or sometimes the parent may even hit the child, right? Just to teach the child a lesson. Of course, the parent does this in goodwill. He doesn't do it cruelly, right? He does it for the purpose that the child will learn. So in the same way, right? So if if punishment or himsa is not really himsa, because that is justice. That is basically to teach. Like that, a guru may also be very heavy. A guru and his disciple, the guru may speak very heavily to the disciple, but that is for the benefit of the disciple, right? That is to be understood. So, generally, this is how a devotee will behave. A Mahatma or a devotee will tolerate all difficulties that he goes through. Even if somebody is causing that difficulty, he will never blame that person, because he understands that that person who's causing the difficulty is just an instrument. And the difficulty may be coming from karma, may be coming from the interactions of nature, right? But he understands that ultimately it is allowed by the Lord. And if it is allowed by the Lord, there must be good for it. There must be some good reason for it. And that is the faith a devotee will have in his heart. And he will strengthen that faith. And the more difficulties that come, the more he will strengthen that faith until he comes to the point of Kunti Maharani. If you remember Kunti Maharani is expert already in this. So she's so expert that she goes and tells Krishna, please give me more and more sufferings. Please give me more and more difficulties. Because each of these difficulties are an opportunity for me to remember you. That's how Kunti Maharani is speaking. So that's very advanced. But that's the point. The point is we must teach ourselves. We must teach to our mind to think in this way. That is very, very crucial alignment in our thinking to become a pure devotee. So Parikshit Maharaj says, therefore I can understand you must be dharma itself. You must be religiosity itself. Parikshit Maharaj is very intelligent. Simply by hearing the response of the bull, he can understand he's not an ordinary animal. The quality of his speech, he's talking about dharma jnana, which Parikshit Maharaj also knew, and therefore he says, you are none other than Dharma himself. So this also indicates how the kings are so well trained that they could understand this kind of knowledge also. They are not ignorant. Nowadays, we have leaders who are ignorant, do not know what is justice, who do not know what is real and real dharma. So that is not the case with Parikshit Maharaj. So Prabhupada said, a devotee has no suffering at all, because so-called suffering is also God's grace for a devotee who sees God in everything. So, like that, when the devotees grow old, they will see the white hair and old age as as Krishna approaching them closer and closer. When death comes, they see it as Krishna approaching them. So that's why, Prabhupada during World War II, he was saying people were dropping bombs everywhere, and he was in there and bombs were coming. So he says, there, Krishna is coming, Krishna is coming. So his vision was like that. His mind was always like that. So he saw everything, every opportunity or reversal as Krishna himself. So this is the understanding. And this is the same understanding Bhishma Dev was also giving to the Pandavas. Same understanding Kunti Maharani was having. Same understanding Parikshit Maharaj is also having, right? And this is Prabhupada describing this. So Prabhupada continues the conversation. Question may be raised as to why a devotee should refrain from identifying an actor. Okay, now, okay, fine, I will tolerate, but at least I should be able to blame. At least I should come and say, yeah, this person is the one. Okay, but why he should not? Why he should refrain? Hmm. Although he knows definitely that the Lord is the ultimate doer of everything. So, okay, we don't blame individuals because we understand they are instruments, right? But we ultimately understand that everything comes from God, the good and the bad, right? So, why we don't blame God? Why a devotee will not blame God? Oh, Krishna, I did so much for you. I made this barfi for you, and you did this to me. So, we don't blame the Lord. Knowing the ultimate doer, one should not pose himself as ignorant of the actual performer. It's not that we become ignorant, we understand how things work, right? Uh, so, what is the understanding behind this? The understanding is to answer this doubt, the reply is that the Lord is also not directly responsible. So, the Lord is indirectly responsible. He is ultimately the controller. He is the one who ultimately controls it. Yes, right? So, in this way, he is allowing the law of karma to take place. Now, the law of karma is universal justice. There must be justice. Until the person becomes a pure devotee, that person, that jiva, has to be responsible for all the good and the bad that he does. Because the jiva decided to come to the material world. And having come to the material world, he has to play fair. He cannot gain at the cost or expense of the pain of another jiva. So he has to be fair. He cannot cause himsa to another jiva. So when he does do that, when he does cause himsa to another jiva, right, he will undergo sin. He will suffer the reaction of sin. So it is the jiva's own actions due to his ignorance or due to his greed that he performs a certain action and he receives the reaction for that. And that reaction can be good reaction, can be bad reaction. But who allows this rule? The person who enables this rule, the rule maker, this is whose rule? This is Krishna's rule. So without Krishna's sanction, this rule will not work. But because Krishna sanctions it, it works, right? So ultimately, the Lord is responsible, right? But at the same time, the Lord is not responsible because the Lord never said, go and suffer. It is we who do things which causes our own suffering according to the rule of the law, correct? So just like a parent will give rules to his children. Okay, you do this, and this, I become very happy with you, my child. You do this, and that, I become angry with you, my child, and you'll be punished. So the child has a choice. The child can do this or that. So if the child chooses to do naughty things, is that the fault of the parent who set the rule? No. So in the same way, the Lord is not at fault, although he's the ultimate person who's responsible. So this is the devotional understanding. Ultimately, Lord is responsible because the law of karma, which is created by the Lord, the material world is created by the Lord. From the Lord only comes ignorance, forgetfulness, remembrance, everything. But at the same time, the jiva has a choice. The jiva is the one who makes the choices. He has independence to make those choices. And because he makes those choices, he has to enjoy or suffer his own reactions. Okay? So, to answer this doubt, the reply is that the Lord is also not directly responsible, for everything is done by his deputed Maya Shakti. So, Maya Shakti is the superintendent, is the prison keeper. Maya or Durga Devi is the prison keeper of this material world. She is the ultimate person who is responsible to dish out our sufferings. She holds the trident, Trisula, right? The trident has three sharp points. Adi Atmika, Adi Bautika, Adi Daivika. So in this way, she pokes. She pokes those jivas who are miscreants, who are behaving badly in this material world. The material energy is always provoking doubts about the supreme authority of the Lord. So therefore, that's a job lah, to create doubts. The personality of religion knew perfectly well that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. And still he was put into doubt because of that act of Kali by the deluding energy, and thus he refrained from mentioning the supreme cause. This doubtfulness was due to the contamination of both Kali and the material energy. Because he was polluted by Kali, he was affected by Kali, right? He allowed himself to be deluded by the Maya Shakti. So Maya Shakti deludes him. So because of that, he gave so many reasons. He gave material nature as a reason, he gave karma as a reason, he gave non-duality as a reason, but he did not mention the Supreme Lord as the ultimate reason. Right? So Prabhupada gives the point here. Then we have the next verse. Atava deva maya ya nunam gatir agochara etaso vachasas chapi bhutanam iti nischayah. Suta Goswami mentions this verse to Saunaka Rishi to describe. It is concluded that the Lord's energies are inconceivable. Agochara. Lord's energies are inconceivable. No one can estimate them by mental speculation or by word jugglery. So there's no way one can describe it. Deva Mayaya Nunam Gatir Agochara. So therefore, we can understand that the Lord is Achintya Shakti. He cannot be understood. He will have many reasons for what he does. Some reasons we can understand why it has to be this way, why it has to come that way, but certain reasons we cannot understand, right? Lord, but what we must understand is whatever happens, the Lord ultimately means the well wish. He's our eternal well wisher. Whatever he does is for our benefit. So then verse continues. Apa saucham daya satyam iti pada krite kritaha adharmam saistrayo bhagnaha smaya sangha madaistava. So Sutta Goswami is continuing. He's saying the principle of religion do not stand on some dogma, right? The principle of religion is not simply man-made. It's not a man-made religion. So this is the translation to that verse. But it appears that three of your legs are broken due to rampant irreligion in the form of pride, lust for women, and intoxication. So dharma is not standing simply based on someone says this is religiosity or something like that. It is based on scripture, and scripture says religiosity is based on four pillars. So the bull, which represents dharma, stands on four legs. These legs are, right, we can see here, Saucham, Daya, Tapa. Saucham, Daya, Tapa, and Satyam. But this verse says, Tapa, Saucham, Daya, Satyam, iti pada krite kritaha, but three of your legs are broken, right? Adharmam says trayo bhagna. So adharma has broken three of your legs. So Saucham is broken, Daya is broken, Tapa is broken. Saucham is purity or cleanliness, Daya is mercy or compassion, and Tapa is austerity or pridelessness. So what has broken these things? It appears that your legs are broken due to rampant irreligion, adharma. And adharma has taken the form of an axe to cut off the legs of dharma. So this form of the axe is pride. Pride is the axe which cuts off austerity. So people become very proud when they are very austere. Oh, I will not eat this. I will not eat that. I'm in a different level. Or somebody will say, I am pure vegetarian. I will only do this. Or I fast, I'm not like you, all of you. I fast fully, no water. and they will go as far as to broadcast. They like to say the word share. I'd like to share. I'd like to share that I did this. I'd like to share that I did that. But actually, that word share is a misnomer. The actual word, the meaning for that word share is actually broadcasting. I'd like to broadcast that I did this. I'd like to broadcast that I did that. So, but they like to use the word share because it gives a mild meaning. It gives a meaning that as if it's not, but actually it's broadcasting, which is a type of showing off. The real purpose is they want to tell other people, look, all of you, I did this. And why? So that they will for whatever reasons. So pride. If we perform austerity, if we perform any activity, no need to tell other people. Why? Why we tell? Because of pride, right? So therefore, this is danger. Austerity is always defeated by pride. No matter how much austerity do we do, the moment we become proud about it, and pride can be very subtle, right? Then we fall down. So that destroys austerity. Pride and uh, also pride and gambling, right? Lust destroys saucham. Saucham is purity. So when Prabhupada mentions women, if we are for the male sex, it means women. For the female sex, it means the opposite, male. Right? That's to be understood. And intoxication. Intoxication destroys the pillar of austerity. No. Which one is that? Saucham is destroyed by lust. Tapa is destroyed by pride, and mercy is destroyed by meat eating, and intoxication destroys also pride, austerities. Right? So both intoxication and pride destroys austerities. So Prabhupada continues, but to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Lord is also not very easy. Such surrender is possible by persons of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So you can see here the very great importance of following carefully the four regulative principles. So we have to, it's not simply just following them, we have to introspect how strictly we are following and what is the mood in which we are following, right? So it's not just not meat eating, it is at the same time cultivating compassion, because not eating meat, the purpose of that is to cultivate the pillar of compassion. So Hitler was a vegetarian. He would also proudly say, I don't eat meat. But at the same time, he killed millions and millions of people, innocent people, children, right? So where was the compassion? He didn't eat meat, but then he was killing people. So like that, sometimes people, devotees, we should be very careful about himsa in terms of body, speech, and thoughts. So compassion has to be cultivated. So like that, each of these four principles of religion, you should go deep into it, and we should establish like satyam, truthfulness. So truthfulness is the pillar in which gambling destroys truthfulness. So it's not just about not gambling, it's also about maintaining truthfulness. So like that. So if we are very strict in austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness, that forms the foundation in which spiritual life can be built. It's just a foundation, mind you. There is no question of love of God. These basic principles are not. You will not find love of God in someone who is not clean, who is not merciful, who is not truthful, and who is not austere. So that is the understanding. So this has to be established. Prabhupada says men cannot check all these evils simply by statutory acts and police vigilance, but he can cure the disease of the mind by the proper medicine, namely advocating the principles of Brahminical culture or the principles of austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness. So this is the solution for society. Society has to be taught how to imbibe Brahminical culture, right? Basically, Srimad Bhagavatam culture, which is the culture of devotion. So, simply bodily cleanliness may help to some extent, but cleanliness of the mind is necessary and it is affected by glorifying the Supreme Lord. So, the easiest way to achieve austerity, cleanliness, mercy, and truthfulness is to take up devotional service simply by the principles of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. It purifies us more and more so that we are able to follow these principles more and more. So that is one of the ways in which we can see whether we are making advancement. To what extent are we austere? To what extent are we? Of course, we don't do too much austerity, right? We are not in that. The point is, austerity here means pridelessness. To what extent are we prideless? Cleanliness basically means cleanliness of the mind, particularly speaking. To what extent have we made our heart pure? Have we removed karma, krodha, lobha, moha, anger, greed, illusion, madness? All this we want to clean from our heart. Mercy and compassion, compassion for other living entities, and to maintain truthfulness all the time. So the best way is to Sravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, chanting, hearing, remembering the Lord, right? A godless civilization cannot cleanse the mind because it has no idea of God. So, idea here is if we do not understand God, how can we clean the mind? It cannot be fully clean, right? And for this simple reason, people under such a civilization, in other words, atheistic people, cannot have good qualifications no matter how polished they may look outside because they may be, because they're not able to clean their mind because they don't have God realization. So it is simply polishing the exterior surface. Internally, it is all rotten. So this is society in Kali Yuga, generally, right? So you are now standing on one leg only, which is your truthfulness, Satyam, and you are somehow or other hobbling along. But quarrel personified, Kali, is flourishing by deceit, which is the axe used to cut off the leg of Satyam. It's using deceit to try to destroy that leg. So, devotees, we have to be very, very careful about this, right? We do not want to be deceitful. We don't want to be duplicitous in our nature. Say one thing, do another, don't keep our words. We have to be very careful about these matters. Otherwise, we are breaking our own legs. So, Kali, it's by all the influence of Kali this happens. So then, Sutta Goswami continues, but the burden of the earth was certainly diminished by the personality of Godhead and by others as well. How? When the personality of Godhead, when Krishna was present, all good was performed because of his auspicious footprints. So this was also mentioned by Bhuma Devi, right? By the cow in the earlier conversation between the cow and the bull. The cow was also saying this, the same thing she was saying. Hmm? Kunti Maharani was also saying the same thing also. Right? Krishna was here, everything was auspicious. But now the cow or Sadhvi, who was considered as very chaste, this Sadhvi who was only thinking of the Lord, in the absence of the personality of Godhead, she is lamenting as if she is most unfortunate. So this cow now, this earth is bereft of the footprints of the Lord. The Lord has left, the contact of the footprint of the Lord is no longer on earth. So feeling this separation intensely, she is lamenting. And she is lamenting her future with tears in her eyes. Because when Krishna is not present, what happens? There is darkness. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a verse, right? Krishna Surya Sama, Maya Haya Andakara. So when Krishna is there, he is like the sun. Darkness cannot remain. But the moment the sun sets, immediately darkness comes, right? So the moment Krishna's footprint left earth, immediately Kali engulfed the earth. So Mother Earth was very afraid of her future, and with tears in her eyes, then she says, for now she is being ruled and enjoyed by the lower class men. So the earth is being ruled by Shudras, and she is being enjoyed. The earth is being enjoyed by such people who pose as rulers. So Shudra or low class people have become leaders and administrators of society, right? Leaders of religiosity also, and they are exploiting the earth. So Prabhupada says, untrained lower class men or men without ambition. So see what Prabhupada says here. Very interesting what he puts here. Untrained lower class men or men without ambition to protect the sufferers cannot be placed on the seat of an administrator. So this is the quality of a Kshatriya or a leader or an administrator. They must have ambition to protect. They must want to protect. It is not that they just sit in that position, do administrative duties only, and then enjoy the name, fame, glory that comes with it, but do not protect. So protection is very, very important in the qualification of a leader, administrator, or Kshatriya. It's like Parikshit Maharaj, right? The opposite of a leader is one who will exploit. Look at what Kali is doing. Kali is dressed like a leader, dressed like a king. But is he protecting the cow? No, he's exploiting the bull. He's attacking the bull. Right? This is what's happening in Kali Yuga. People dressed as leaders of societies, right? But they exploit people. So we don't want that. So devotees will never exploit. And in the absence of a suitable king to curb religious tendencies, educating the people systematically in the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam will clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption. So, this is the cure mentioned so many times. The cure for society is Srimad Bhagavatam. Why Srimad Bhagavatam? Because Srimad Bhagavatam will create Brahminical society. It will create Brahminical society in amongst people. Automatically there will be Go Raksha, automatically there will be Brahmana Raksha, automatically everything will be perfect, right? Srimad Bhagavatam and Harinam Sankirtan. These are the two cures for society in Kali Yuga. Simply by taking this. So for that purpose, Prabhupada established ISKCON. But Prabhupada continues, this does not mean that the leaders of society, the executive heads, the learned and intelligent men, or above all, the devotees of the Lord, so devotees who are leaders, who are administrators, and especially, they should not sit down tightly and become callous and simply say, "Oh, this is all happening because of the age of Kali. What can I do? I'm busy. I can't do much, right? This after all Kali Yuga, so all this will happen. What to do? Sometimes you cannot tell the truth all the time, Prabhu. You have to add a little bit of some lies, practical, Prabhu. So no, it's not like that, right? One should, this does not mean that devotees should sit down tightly and become callous to the reactions of the age of Kali and simply say, it's Kali Yuga, what can I do? No. Instead, Prabhupada says, in the rainy season, like now, certainly there will be profuse rainfalls. But that does not mean that men should not take means to protect themselves from the rains. So then we know there's rain going to come. Does that mean, oh, it's rainy season anyway, let's just get wet in the rain? What can I do? Right? No. We will carry umbrella, won't we? We will put tents, right? We will plan our trips, right? So there is some planning, there's some strategizing. So in the same way, leaders, administrators, responsible people, understanding the environment is like this, doesn't mean that they will just give in to the Kali. They will try to establish justice. This is the purpose of them, right? So Maharaj Parikshit was also like that. Thus Maharaj Parikshit, specified by the personality of religion and the earth, then he, Maharata, he being a great warrior who can fight thousands and thousands of soldiers single-handedly, he being a Maharata, took up his sharp sword to kill Kali. Parikshit Maharaj could do that. He is a very, very great personality. Why he wanted to kill Kali? Because Kali is the cause of all irreligion. Alaye adharma hetave. The cause, the root cause. Hetave means root cause. Kalaye means Kali is the root cause of adharma, degradation of society. So he could kill. But Kali is also a living being. So what Kali did, but Maharaj Parikshit thus specified the personality of religion of the earth. He took his sword to kill Kali, and Prabhupada says the administrators therefore should take the stance of Parikshit Maharaj. They should not simply sit idly. They should not simply pass resolutions for anti-corruption steps, but at the same time do nothing. They must be ready with sharp swords. They must be vigilant to address, to rectify, kill the persons creating corruptions. So this way, they must be vigilant. Kill them, to kill those people creating corruption from the angle of vision of the recognized Shastra. So they must always be guided by Shastra, not to misuse Shastra, but to be guided by Shastra by the bona fide parampara system. So this is how one should develop Veda Chakshus, the eyes of scripture to see, and in this way able to correct things before it's too late. When the personality of Kali understood that the king was willing to kill him, he at once abandoned the dress of a king, and due to bhaya, fear, completely surrendered to him, bowing his head. So this is the nature of low-class men. As soon as someone powerful challenges them, immediately they will give up, right? So we can see by their activities, right? He at once abandoned the dress of a king, and due to bhaya, fear, completely surrendered to the king. Now this Kali is cowardly, at the same time he is also crafty, very cunning. So this is the uh, uh, this is the lakshana or you could say, this is how you can identify a low class personality. Cowardly in heart, they pretend to be otherwise, they pretend, but when they are faced with a challenge, they become cowardly and they become crafty. So Prabhupada says, in the age of Kali, there are many pretenders dressed and posed like administrators or executive heads, but their real identity is disclosed when they are challenged by a real Kshatriya. So what will happen after this? We will hear in our next session. Kali surrenders to Parikshit Maharaj. What will Parikshit Maharaj now do? What will be the justice that Parikshit Maharaj will do, right? And we will hear more about this in our next session. So let us stop today. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much, everybody. So if there's any questions or any clarifications or anything you'd like to say, you can. Anyone wants to raise any points? Anything? Any doubts? Do we agree 100% with what Prabhupada's saying here? Do we agree with 100%? If there's any doubts, right, we can clarify.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Wonderful.
Prabhu, in Kali Yoga, during the ruling of Parikshit Maharaj, the bull was selected. The bull was selected to represent Dharma, which carries austerity, cleanness, mercy, and truthfulness. the bull was selected. And then due to our irregulation, lust, pride and intoxication was also included. Right?
Oh,
But
sorry?
why bull? In the Kali Yuga, why bull? It's a bit confusing. And somehow it can communicate to Parikshit.
Yeah. Special bull. So basically, it's a symbolism. You know, Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a lot of symbolism involved. There's a lot of poetry involved. So yes, these personalities, sometimes they take various forms. There are many reasons behind. One reason religiosity decided to take the form of the bull is to teach humanity that the bull, amongst all other animals, is sacred. So one should be respecting the bull. One should not harm the bull. So because the bull is special to the cow and the bull are special to Krishna. So therefore, this is just a way of showing humanity that the bull and the cow are very important to humanity. They represent religiosity, and at the same time, they also represent dharma. So that's
but
why
the Supreme Lord gave the power to the bull, but didn't give the power to defend herself.
Yeah, because the Kali is very powerful. Who will protect the cow and the bull? The cowherd, right? The cowherd has left the earth. The cowherd, Lord Sri Krishna, who is the protector of the bulls and the calf, he has left the earth. He has left the world. But who is supposed to protect now? The Brahminical culture. So Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna left the world, he came as Srimad Bhagavatam. So we have to embrace Srimad Bhagavatam. Society has to embrace Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, they bring Krishna back into their lives. In this way, Krishna comes back to the earth, and the earth is protected. The bull, the dharma, and the bulls are protected as well.
Hopefully, other animals also will be protected. Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Oh
Prabhu.
yes, definitely. Other animals also to be protected. That's why Buddha came, right? Because the Vedic sacrifices were misrepresented and misused, and they started killing animals simply wantonly. So then Lord Buddha came to re-establish religiosity principles. Religiosity has to be based on compassion. That's why we practice ahimsa. That's why we do not kill. To kill another living entity is pain. To create pain in another living entity is sin. So all this is important. But still, the bull is very special. The cow and the bull is very special to the Lord. Why? Because because Krishna likes the cows and the bulls. That's all. Why Krishna likes cows and not rhinoceroses, for example? Well, that's Krishna, right? It's his personality. He likes cows. So therefore, it's his right to establish the cow and the bull as the. This is basically that. I hope that
Thank you.
answers, Prabhu. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
All right. Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, pronounced Dandavad.
Hare Krishna, Padmini Mataji. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Among just now, along the way, you were telling about the 4 pillars of religion. Okay. Now in Kali Yuga, only the truthfulness is prevailing. But I don't think this truthfulness is there in this Kali Yuga because so much of bickery and cheating and all this. How can I accept truthfulness is still existing? Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Right. So there is still truthfulness because if there is no truthfulness, truthfulness means there is truth. If completely there's no truth, that means everything we see in this world will be false. So there is still truth in this world. There is Bhagavad Gita, for example. There is Srimad Bhagavatam. There are scriptures. There is truth. And there are people who present these scriptures to people. And there is truth, right? And there are devotees who have taken a vow to uphold truthfulness. So all of us who take up initiation, we take a vow, right? In front of the fire sacrifice, in front of the Guru, in front of the Lord. We want to follow the 4 regulative principles, right? The purpose of these 4 regulative principles At least we will not gamble. At least we say that. But the purpose behind it is to uphold truthfulness. So yes, there is truthfulness still, but the problem is truthfulness is being attacked currently. So this is Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga has taken to deceit as a weapon, and using deceit as a weapon, it is attacking truthfulness. People used to be truthful those days, but more and more, everything is becoming false. Even 30 years ago, when we see the news, we used to think everything in the news is true. But now we have fake news. So more and more, and in another 30 years, we may have fake. I don't know what else we'll have fake. We have fake rice. We have fake. They put plastic in the rice now. We have fake. I don't know, all kinds of fake things already. In previous times, there were still a lot of true things. So everything is becoming fake. Everything is becoming a lie. So more and more, this is happening because the influence of Kali is happening. But at the same time, there is still truthfulness. There is the leg is wobbly, the leg is being attacked, but the leg is still standing. But by the time Kali Yuga is another 400,000 years more to go, you see. So yeah, we can see a lot of people out there who are probably not truthful. But at the same time, there are still people. You will still find there are still people who are truthful, right? Prabhupada is truthful. The founder acharyas are truthful. The paramparas are truthful. So even what to speak of, even sometimes we meet ordinary people. There are people who are taking. They feel very important. Even in Japan, for example, during the samurai times, honor was very important to samurai. So truthfulness, they will not tell a lie. Like that, they will take an honor oath. And even in the earlier times, in medieval Europe, truthfulness was also still important, right? So yes, to answer the question, Mataji, truthfulness is still there, but it is being corroded. It is being corroded little by little by little, and eventually it will almost disappear towards the end of Kali Yuga, but it will not disappear completely because the Lord will descend again as Kalki Avatar, and at that time he will re-establish truthfulness. Okay, I hope that answers, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the
Hare
nice
Krishna.
clarification. Thank you so much, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Any other questions? Anybody else? Otherwise, feel free to put it in the chat or to put any questions. Happy to answer any of these questions. The point is, we want to remove doubts from our heart. The purpose of this entire Srimad Bhagavatam session is we want to instill the faith and we want to remove doubts. So the more we hear Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we hear Srila Prabhupada's words, the more our faith will become stronger. Right, so thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
We'll see you
Prabhu.
all.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Pranams.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.